members that are here, to our partner, huge partner, Valerie Gay of Art Sanctuary, who joined with members of my staff and members of the President's staff to make this morning real. And lastly, a thank you again to all of you who show up. I think it was Woody Allen who said 90% of what you do is about showing up. So we thank you very, very much for showing up. Lastly, let me remind you that all of us should have visited the African American History Museum, which is located where? In Councilman Squilla's district. All of us should have been to visit the Art Sanctuary in whose district? Councilman Kenyatta's district. Everyone should have been to the National Constitution Center. Don't tell me if you have not. Everyone should have been to the Kimmel Center to see Philadelphia or Al Jarreau or the Philadelphia Orchestra. And of course, we all have been to our city's and the country's first museum, which is what? The Philadelphia Museum of Art. Just last night I was at the Barnes Foundation with a new exhibit that they are showcasing city residents in their own art form. So try to get by and visit the Barnes as well. And with that, we'll move to our readings this morning from a book provided to us by Valerie Gay. And we thank you for that, Valerie. And to kickstart that will be our president, Darrell Clark.
Thank you so much, Councilwoman. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for being here. Councilwoman, I want to thank you so much for your continued presence as it relates to bringing out arts and culture. I was just telling Councilman Heenan I'm not nearly cultured enough, so I got to hang around you a little more. But I want to thank you and thank the folks from the Art Sanctuary and the leadership of Council for putting on the 5th annual African American History Month celebration. It is genuinely a pleasure. It is very important because the old saying is, it's difficult to know where you're going to go if you don't know where you've been. So history is one of the most significant aspects of what we need to do, particularly in a case where a people, as relates to African Americans, whose history was either shadowed, whose history, for whatever reason, was altered. So I want to thank you so much. I want to thank you so much. Any race, Councilwoman, thank you. So just want to thank you all very much, and thank you again, Councilwoman. Am I ready to start? All right, so start here. I had a great teacher, boy, Councilwoman Lionel Reynolds Brown. History is not a straight line, but a rolling wheel. Its perpetual story, and all the spokes of it eventually tied together. The wheel of history includes the story of black women who joined forces to confront the indignities and the inequities of their times.
They challenged themselves and others to force America to live up to her promise of equality for all. And today, I feel that I am standing on my sister's shoulders, that so much of where I am today is because of what they did yesterday.
What is most intriguing about these courageous women is not that they suffered, but that they stayed intact, human. We are left in amazement at how these women did not let anything destroy them or their spirits. But what I remain in constant awe over about women of today and of yesterday is how they, just as in the spiritual, can make a way out of no way.
Unita Blackwell, we had come to register to vote. It's our right as Americans. The Constitution says so. Soon, a bunch of white fellas started circling the courthouse in their pickup trucks. White men did not usually ride around town with a rack of guns. You might have seen a gun when a person was going out hunting deer or rabbits. That day, we were the rabbits.
Pictures were flashing through my mind. 3 civil rights workers who had gone missing just the week before. Medgar Evers, murdered the previous summer, shot in the back while his wife and little children watched. Emmett Till at the bottom of the Tallahatchie River with a cotton gin fan tied around his neck.
But everything came together for me the day those white men with guns surrounded me at the courthouse. I could taste and smell reality. These white men, who sometimes even smiled and spoke to me, were so consumed with hatred for me that one of them might actually kill me just to keep me from registering to vote.
If our first small step to freedom, registering to vote, threatened white folks that much, I knew that the right to vote must be a powerful thing. That day, I realized I was willing to die for my right to vote. I made up my mind, if I ain't got no freedom, I would rather die.
Fannie Lou Hammer. I went to the church and they talked about how it was our right to vote. That sounded interesting enough to me that I wanted to try it. The only thing they could do was kill me. And it seemed like they've been trying to do that a little bit at a time ever since I could remember.
I began to hear the sounds of licks and screams. It wasn't long before 3 white men came to my cell. He said, "We're going to make you wish you was dead." They beat me until I was hard, so I couldn't bend my knees. Every day of my life, I pay with the misery of that beating.
Gloria Dickerson. Chopping cotton left me sweaty, my face often salty from perspiration. This was a miserable way to earn a living. My mama wanted a better life for all of her children. I was a young child, my mama's words ringing in my ears, quote, "Education will get you out of the cotton fields," end quote.
When my parents sent us to white schools, white folks were shocked. The plantation owner sent the manager to the house to tell my daddy to withdraw his kids. Daddy told the manager, no. Can you imagine a black man in 1965 with the courage to tell his boss, a white man, no?
That no brought consequences. The following night, after my daddy told him no, shots were fired into our house. 1965 was a frightening time. It was a time when blacks were threatened, beaten, intimidated, and lynched if they did not respond to the demands of the white majority.
June Elizabeth Johnson, after being thrown in prison at the age of 14 for registering people to vote. I don't care what happens to me. I'm going to be free or continue to be part of a struggle to fight for the freedom of people in this country. I've done nothing else in my life, and I intend to do that for the rest of my life.
Constance Iona Slaughter Harvey. I came of age during the Revolution, a bloody and painful revolution which left physical and spiritual scars on a generation of Americans. My revolution was the Civil Rights Movement, and one of the most challenging battlefields was the University of Mississippi School of Law, where I later became the first African-American female law school graduate.
When I was a student, Mama wrote a prayer asking God to protect me. She wrote, "Oh dear God, my child's face is black. Black is a blackbird's wing. So God, please be merciful and let her young heart sing. The inhuman deeds of the past century press heavily upon her back. To be free, she cries and struggles. Lord, ere her poor spirit crack.
I did journey to the mountaintop and stick my flag into the rocky dirt of the future. I had to climb over the past and present to get there. Occasionally I have felt that we have nothing before us, but mostly I feel now that we have everything before us, and that the promised land of social justice is a real place that will one day be reached, rather than a hollow ideal for which so many have sacrificed so much.
Not all of life is already written down. There's still so many stories to be told, We hope that this is simply a snapshot of the pieces from this beautiful book, eloquently written, Pieces from the Past, a gift to all of our colleagues, voices of heroic women in civil rights. And we're pleased to say that the authors of this monumental piece, I have so much admiration for authors, Joan Sadoff, if you would please rise, and Robert Sadoff, Linda Needleman. We were told that you were able to join us this afternoon. Thank you very, very much for this document. So again, a huge thank you to my colleagues. We never take your presence for granted. And now we want to invite up Valerie Gay, our co-partner in this. My colleagues, you can rest your weary feet, and we'll proceed with the balance of the program.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all, council people, for reading these beautiful words that came from women, black and white women from Mississippi in the 1960s, who together and individually pushed the civil rights movement forward. And save for Fannie Lou Hamer, we had never heard of any of these women. And yet, these women, we stand on all of their shoulders, everyone in this room, regardless of your ethnicity, regardless of your country of origin, regardless of your religion, we stand on their shoulders. And every day in Philadelphia, there are groups of students in some of the most under-resourced schools who are learning about these women, who are learning about the civil rights movement. They're reading that same book. They're responding using art. We teach the civil rights movement at Art Sanctuary embedded in English and history classes in using the arts, and we're so grateful for all of you. And so if you don't know where Art Sanctuary is, we're at 16th and Bainbridge. Our work happens all over the city. I am most disappointed not to see my council person to cheer for me. So if people can tell him I was looking for him, please, Councilman O, thank you. Yes, Councilman Johnson. But thank you all so much. And we do invite you to see our work. Art Sanctuary's mission is to use the power of black art to transform individuals, create and build community, and foster cultural understanding. And since we know you don't have to be black to like black art, we hope that you will come and join us at one of our events. And I just wanted to thank the Councilwoman Blunda Reynolds-Brown and her staff, and Council President Clark's staff for making this day possible. Thank you all. Oh! I'm sorry, one more thing, I forgot. My dear friends, we did just say thank you to Joan Sadoff and Linda Needleman. They did provide a copy of the book to every council person, and they also provide a book for every child that we work with through Art Sanctuary, so that child can take that book home and learn about their history and share it with their families and communities. So thank you both.
We love the spoken word, and so we want to invite up Jayda Hepburn of the Mighty Writers, which is a nonprofit organization, potentially, come on up, dear, in the business of helping little people and young people become better writers. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Jayda Hepburn. I go to the Academy in Notre Dame. It's in Villanova. I'm in the 10th grade. And a funny thing about public speaking is when you're sitting down, you don't see everyone's eyes like this. So that's what, right. So I was asked to write a poem, and I usually write short stories, but I tried my best. Thank you. Now this is called The Huddled Masses Screaming on the Right Side of History. Now, I am not one to scream, not one to cause trouble, to howl at full moons and raise hell. I'll bury myself in my books, thank you, I'll rewatch Lord of the Rings again. I'd rather not get into any debates, but watching them is fun, with the lying Teds and the trumped-up economics and sleepy Ben Carson. Though I missed 100 rallies, I never went and saw a speech, because what they were saying I already knew, and there was nothing left to teach. I knew about the money that lived on Capitol Hill. I knew about the brutality from Trayvon to Emmett Till. And solution after solution and proposition after lie, I was jaded and empathetic, which to me was fine. Now, I've never run for office or been on a campaign staff. I'll read one HuffPost article and call myself woke, because who really cares about politics when half the country doesn't vote? But still, the nation had moved forward, but with still so much moving to do. At Standing Rock in Orlando, and hopefully Flint, Michigan too. And with all the pandering and the bleeding hearts and the solemn posts, we're arguing over where the refugees shall go. And like a wound, it festered and grew, and like an infection, it plagued us. The id of a nation laden in bigotry and hatred, and with every night on the news a new tweet to discuss. Now, I'm certainly not 3/5 of a person, and my parents may not have been born on these shores, but why is it when I say blank lives matter, you think it matters more than yours? That's why when I woke up that November morning, I clutched a rosary and said a prayer. And I looked at the TV in disbelief and wondered what had happened here. We were doing so great and going so far even though Barack and the family were leaving. So why in those days after the news broke did the whole nation feel like grieving? Because it felt like a death with no funeral. It felt like the passing of a child. And days came to pass, and a week and a month or two, whilst the whole country was still in denial. Russia, the Electoral College, we still don't know who did it, but we looked and looked for someone to blame, because the world grew dark and uncertain and cold before we would be delivered into hell's flames. Now, I was angry, but I never cried, and my whole body still feels empty. So when I got on the bus that damp Sunday morning, I went for 3 hours to D.C. I don't know what I was expecting. I was never one to fight, much less in a pink hat with ears, but in the tide of the huddled masses, there was passion, there was no fear. Now they held their signs and their babies alike, and some came in strollers and in chairs, and together we moved like one body down the street, right into the devil's lair. We will not be moved. Climate change is not a hoax. My body, my rights, we welcome the refugees. Battle cries and chantings, but to me, pure poetry. Because this is what democracy looks like, ignoring gender and color and creed, whether the earth is too hot or your salary is too small. We yelled and we walked like a people longing to be freed. And we walked, us huddled masses, to make sure we wouldn't be ignored, because hell, it truly hath no fury like some patriots when scorned. I got home late, a little after 10, watched the news because I refused to sleep. 500,000 alone in Washington, said CNN, united against demagoguery. Because this country belonged to us, and we would take it back. From the alt-rights and the bigots, we wouldn't tolerate such an attack. What little rights we had, we would cling to them and fight for those yet to come. For knowing that if we were to ever stop fighting, the bigotry and the hatred would have won. Innovative, like Mrs. Curie, shooting for the stars like Miss Jameson, powerful like Venus and Serena, and fearless like Miss Tubman, unapologetic as Miss Roosevelt, compassionate like Miss Steinem, resilient as Sojourner, and revolutionary as de Chouliers. We were unbought and unbossed like Miss Chisholm, defying everything like Miss Tubman, strong and graceful like Mrs. Obama, and nasty like Miss Clinton. Fed up like Marcia and the Queens at Stonewall, so we marched like Dr. King. And in those huddled masses on that damn Saturday, I felt as if they had carried me. Struggles of those living and dead, their persistence, their patience, their pride, screaming with those huddled masses, assuring the future would be bright. Because the revolution never really ended, it simply changed its face. Could have looked like Hamilton or Huey P., but for now, in these next few years, it will look like you and me. Because we are a people united for peace and love and unity. And all those huddled masses from all over, screaming on the right side of history. Thank you.
The power of the spoken word. Thank you very, very, very much. No program is complete without music and song. And so we have these young people that we had a chance to listen to in December who are fabulous and with enormous talent. We want to ask them to move forward quickly so that we can move to this portion of the program, and then we'll close with our annual video of Lift Every Voice and Sing. The test is for you to be able to identify all of those personalities you'll see in the video. There's an enormous prize afterwards. Thank you very much. I might add, the President's tech staff and the folks who understand all this technology, we need to acknowledge what you give as well to make this morning real. We do appreciate it.
One selection for you this morning. The song is entitled "We Shall Overcome." And if you like it, just enjoy it along with us, okay? Yeah. Okay? Yes.
We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome someday.
We'll hold hand in hand, come on.
We'll hold hand in hand.
Sing it, y'all.
We'll hold hand in hand. We'll hold hand in hand someday. Deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome someday.
I am not afraid, come on.
I am not afraid. I am not afraid. I am not afraid someday. Deep in my heart, I do believe. Deep in my heart, I do believe. Deep in my heart, I do believe. We shall overcome someday.
That was a teaser, I just want you to know. But let's thank again the Hope Church School Choir. Everyone is asked to please get your ticket to enjoy the soul food lunch immediately following the video. And with that, we'll rely on the technicians to get the video going. Please. Forgive me? And the ticket is the bookmark, colleagues and staff.
We
That concludes this portion. Please receive your bookmarks. That will be your ticket to enjoy a delicious soul food lunch. Thank you for staying, council colleagues and staff, guests and visitors. Enjoy your lunch.
Can we all give Councilwoman Blondell Reynolds Brown a round of applause for this event today?